Hello and welcome, and welcome and hello and welcome, and let me welcome you warmly and say hello, greetings, salutations, friends. It's Un Poco Mas, the show where we give you just a little bit more. Today, I would like to talk about a somewhat obscure Chinese EV company. It's NIO Inc., ticker symbol NIO. I used to make a few videos about this stock, been a little bit bored with it lately. Production has been down, stock has been down. I'm just waiting it out. I really feel like the company is turning a corner as we speak. I think people are really missing the trick here. And I think, analysts, they just want to count production numbers. That's all they want to do with EV. They don't want to pay any attention to any type of nuance. They don't want to look at what's going on behind the scenes because NIO is so much more than the number of cars they sell. They actually just had their 500,000th, 500,000 cars roll off their production line. Their Onvo sub-brand, the more affordable sub-brands going head-to-head with Tesla Model Y, is being introduced. Their app just went live, coming out any day. They're talking about, going on sale in Q3, actually deliveries starting in Q4. So NIO delivers, and they deliver on time. They deliver a quality product. Now, I know sales numbers haven't been what many of us would have liked to see. The stock is down at $5, but lest we forget, guys, it was just down in the threes just a couple of weeks ago. So it's actually made a significant recovery all the way up to around 570, and then it's pulled back here to $5, somewhat inexplicably because delivery numbers have been pretty strong. But the real reason you'll see is there's just no institutional ownership inside this stock. It's just, mutual funds, other institutions, and then vast majority is held by retail investors. Vanguard has quite a few shares. Fidelity has quite a few shares, but pardon me. Other than that, it's just absolutely slim pickings. So, guys, what's been going on with NIO? Basically, the thing's been just dying sideways. It was up all the way, obviously, into the 60s. It was found support back in 2021 on this top line, found support again, gap down on January 2021, and then this line has become resistance. Very solid support down here. Just algo just working this thing down. It's very, very orderly. There's just, retail investors getting them out low is just a war of attrition. It's capitulation, and people just lose patience and they sell. They set stop losses. I think that's why they push the stock under 4. That's why I think they'll probably push it back under 5 at least one more time here. But retail investors are pretty stubborn because I think they see the future. They see that the Chinese government at many, many levels is lined up behind NIO. They want to control this battery swap standard and a more general battery and charging standard, I think, worldwide that compete with Tesla. I think basically they're going to, steal everything they can from Tesla and then throw them out of town. I just see China tit for tat. Obviously, they manufacture a lot of EVs in China. Tesla does, but you're talking about the Biden administration putting 100% tariff on Chinese EVs as soon as this coming week. So we'll just have to see what happens. We'll have to see if there's any retaliation against American EV companies selling in China. It would only make sense. That's usually how these trade things go: tit for tat, escalation, tariffs, and then sooner or later, both countries realize they're only hurting themselves. Free trade actually works better. It's more efficient, and it's just the way that the world is now. So usually people back off of these full-scale trade wars, but time will tell. Anyway, guys, that's the chart. More recently, what are we looking at? More recently, the stock is just trying to hold that 50-day moving average. Been, again, a lot of buying coming in off of 380 the last 2 weeks, just basically run up. The algos kind of run it up. But I think there's also some accumulation because as you'll see here, deliveries have recovered. This is a pretty good article, extremely bearish, strong sell. I've read a lot of this guy's articles, Dares Samsonov. He's actually a smart guy. He's talking a lot about how he made a bullish call, and the stock's down 50% since then. He felt like Q4 delivery numbers were going to translate into better financials. He felt like Q1 was extremely weak. Q1 has been weak. If you look at XPEV or something, Q1's even far weaker in terms of deliveries. But Lee expanded quickly. Lee is not really an EV company, and they were selling largely one model. And again, I think this is really apples and oranges. Lee does not have a significant charging network nationwide that a bunch of other companies are using, like NIO. Lee has not built out, 2,400 or whatever battery swap stations, both in China, kind of connecting all the major cities, all the major highways. Very significant effort. Also building that out in Europe. NIO is just a hugely ambitious project. If you look at it, like Lee would be like building, a little municipal sewage facility, and NIO's like, the Manhattan Project. Like NIO is basically reinventing the wheel. If you look at their partner, they just signed on with for both charging and battery swap, GAC. They are a major company in China. They signed this agreement May 8th. They'll carry out strategic cooperation. The cooperation will amplify two companies' respective strength in technology and operations, push forward the unification of battery standards and operational and management systems so as to make swapping a more approachable solution, provide users with experience as hassle-free as refueling, said William Lee, chairman and CEO of NIO. NIO and GAC will work together to establish a unified battery standard and jointly develop battery swap-enabled passengers cars and battery swap stations compatible with models from both brands, according to the statement. This is going to be NIO's standard. I mean, if you'll read below, they have this sub-brand Hyper. They've been building out battery swap for several years, and they have 14 battery swap stations. NIO has into the thousands. And coverage all over the country. So the two will push forward, swappable batteries. NIO and GAC realize dynamic data internet connectivity by the end of this month. So they're linking their charging networks already. They're talking about by May 15th, making charging easier by enabling users to not only search for and navigate to a charger, but also start and pay for charging session through the brand's apps, mini programs, and power maps on center displays, according to the statement. Going forward, the growing NEV population, battery swapping will unleash unlimited market opportunities, especially in cities, because it solves the main pain point for users who don't have a dedicated parking spot, said Feng Jingka, president of GAC Group. The strategic cooperation agreement that we signed today is also a foundation and guidance for our future cooperation. With this as a starting point, we hope to build more battery swap stations with our GAC Aeon users will have better swapping experience. So this goes on. They had a history. NIO also signed with Chang'an in November of 2023. Battery swap, similar agreement. Also a major player in China. They also signed with Geely. They also signed with JAC and Chery. They also signed with, who else? Lotus, who I think is part of Geely. But they've just been absolutely on fire in terms of lining up people for their standard. They previously had a joint venture with GAC in 2018, but it didn't really go anywhere. NIO eventually, sort of left that. But GAC is also a player in China's swap space, although it's far less known. Their Hyper brand has the battery swap-enabled models such as Hyper GT, which went on sale. It's building its own swap stations, saying last August it had 14 such facilities and built its first station in 2022 April. So in a year and a half, they built 14 stations, approximately one a month. NIO, I think, just last year was building 1,200 swap stations. So you do the math. You're talking about one swap station a month versus 100 swap stations a month. Who's going to be dominating the standard? It's going to be NIO's standard. I mean, let's face it. But back to some other news, guys. In terms of, there's just low institutional ownership. There's a pretty significant short on the stock, and there's just, with these delivery numbers being absolutely anemic, there's just, really been no compelling reason to buy the stock. We see, a lot of exciting news in terms of swap stations, solid-state batteries, range, new models, the sub-brand. I mean, the sub-brand is really critical. This is an affordable vehicle. It's going to be priced less than the Tesla Model Y. It's going to be a better car in many respects, a lot of people think. So let's just go over some of the news. Of course, like all my NIO ideas, I lift them from CN EV Post. So NIO's Onvo mobile app goes live. First promo video reveals glimpse of the L60. This is the deal with GAC Ion's Hyperbrand. Interconnect their chargers. This will go live by end of May. This is the Onvo going right at the Model Y. You see NIO sees milestone of 500,000th mass-produced car. And I'll make one other point if we scroll down just a little bit. I don't know exactly where it is on here, but it was actually somewhere else where I was reading it. But they were looking at an average of 67,000 battery swaps per day for the month of April. And, you know, with some of those 500,000 cars not being delivered yet, some of those 500,000 cars going to Europe, some of those 500,000 cars probably, you know, being in accidents or malfunctioning. I think there's, 480,000, 470,000, you know, NIOs on the road in China, and they're doing 67,000 battery swaps per day. That's actually pretty extraordinary when you think about it. Like 15% of each NIO is battery swapping on a day, you know, every single day. So that means in a week, basically all NIOs in existence will have gone through a battery swap in the month of April. I know some are probably doing multiple swaps and some are doing any, but my point is battery swap is being used by, I think, the vast majority of NIO users. I think that's the unique selling point. I think that's the key to this company. I think that's what makes NIO an integral part of the power grid. I think the government is going to be very, very favorable toward promoting this swap standard. I think, you know, think about it. What does it take to fill a tank of gas these days? If you have like, you know, $5 a gallon, I don't know what gas costs in China, but I'm just giving an example. You know, say it's $100 to fill a tank, or, you know, $70, whatever it is, and NIO's performing, you know, 67 of these. You know, just make it $50. So NIO's performing 65, whatever, thousand. So you're talking about $3.5 million a day just swapping already. And this company hasn't even scaled yet. The sub brands haven't come out yet, the affordable cars, but they're actually doing it. I mean, that's really the key. This stuff is live. Tesla's talking about maybe coming out with an economy car in 2025. I really feel like Tesla it was an ego thing with this Cybertruck. I don't think it did them any good. I really feel like it made far more sense for them to come out with their economy car, their more affordable $20-some thousand car on a new platform, rather than try to revamp sort of the Model 3, kind of downgrade that. Just doesn't make any sense to me. The Cybertruck as a product for Tesla, it doesn't make any sense to me. It's really antithetical to the vision of sort of, you know, environmentalism, efficiency. It's more sort of this tiny dick energy, machismo. It just doesn't make sense for me right now. So, you know, I'm still a Tesla shareholder. I still really believe in the company in terms of their data, their FSD. I think the new FSD is quite amazing. I think it works well, but I think realistically, guys, if Tesla's banking on full self-driving robo-taxis, with regulation, you know, legislators the way they are, everything being politics, you're going to have unions, you're going to have all kinds of people opposed to automation. It's going to be, you know, the same way it is down at the, you know, longshoremen's union. You're going to have the same, you know, types of issues. And I just think a lot of these governments in the big cities in particular just do not like Elon Musk. They don't like, you know, they're talking about looking at Tesla for like securities fraud, wire fraud. Just a lot of what the guy says is just, you know, I believe he is a crazy genius, but I just think the company would be a lot better with someone else kind of out front as the, you know, face of the company. You know, I just don't like Tesla right now in terms of the market sentiment. I do like them in terms of their technology, in terms of everything they've accomplished. But for me, looking at NIO at a market cap of $10 billion versus looking at Tesla where it is right now, I'm willing to bet on NIO. And I know NIO's riskier because Tesla's obviously already making profit, already achieved scale. NIO is burning money. And that's very problematic, but they just got a big infusion of cash from the Middle East, and they still have a pretty significant cash position. I know they're working very hard to control costs, increase revenues, and get their margins back up. So I'm willing to give them a few more quarters this year, and I think by late this year we'll really understand if NIO is actually getting their act together. I think battery swap is going to be a player. I think the standard is going to be a player. Whether NIO cars get big or not, whether the sub brands get big or not, I can't say. But it really looks that way. It really looks like the government has a lot in the bag for NIO, and they really want this swap standard, this battery standard, to push forward. So, 500,000 car rolling off the line, important partnerships, solid state batteries already in testing, going to go on sale very, very soon. So, just a lot of very exciting news for NIO in terms of the short score 76, backed off a little bit. Shares on loan were over 400 million, returning a few shares today, borrowed some yesterday. So that's really neither here nor there. But the issue is really there's just not hardly any institutional ownership of the stock. Of course, the Abu Dhabi, the sovereign wealth fund, is in for 20% of the company. Approximately 418 million shares, so that's very, very significant. Then William Lee himself owns 8% of the company, so that's a lot. Tencent still has a big stake. BlackRock also with a big stake, and Vanguard, State Street, Bally Gifford kind of rounding it out. Morgan Fudley cut their stake. It looks like UBS is in, but just Goldman sucks. I'm sure they're probably shorting it as well. So just not a lot of institutional ownership to go ahead and prop up the stock. In terms of the options sentiment, not extremely bullish or bearish, just kind of very low and down the middle. Just not a lot of excitement around these Chinese EV stocks. Everybody was very high on Li there for a while, but that seems to have faded as these things tend to do. And you see it again here. Institutional shares, 331 million. It's only 16% institutional ownership. Fund sentiment score, 37%. Institutional ownership was, holding pretty steady around that 500 million share mark since 2020, and then it popped all the way up to almost 600 million shares, and then steadily declined back below 500, then below 450, and now at last report all the way down to 340 or so million shares. So really bad news in terms of price stability, any type of upward price pressure, any type of buying pressure. You just see institutions dumping shares on the market like a wet blanket, sales numbers low, and just not a lot going on. But I was adding down at low fours, maybe even high threes. I didn't get down there. I think it was all in the fours, but very low fours, dragged my average down quite a bit. I really believe in this company, their management. I don't think it's critical right now that they come to the United States. They weren't going to come right now anyway. They're just getting starting to walk in Europe. They have to crawl, then walk, then run. I think you could work out this bottom line. Chinese EVs are going to come to the United States. We sell all other Chinese products here, and cars aren't going to be any different. Companies in Europe and America are going to have to compete, and they're competing with Tesla. Tesla's in China, Tesla's in Europe. And that's just the way it is. I don't think we're going to be able to use a strategy of protectionism to avoid these Chinese EVs forever. Anyway, guys, that's NIO. What am I looking for the stock to do over sort of the short and not really short term, but medium term anyway? I don't think this downtrend is going to continue too long. You see the stock, really searching, really fighting for some support here around 5. You see it popped off February, again in March. So found some support there, crushed back down, quickly recovered. So I don't know. It's really hard. I look for the stock to approach, first back to this level in the $8 area, then back to this $11 area. That's kind of the steps that it took to get down here, but it's very, very orderly. You see this just sell off, absolutely algo pinned, and I like to think there's some accumulation out there, but I just don't see. There's so many negatives, so many perceived negatives, so much FUD. It's Chinese, the war. You could, have war break out in Taiwan anytime. Chinese alliance with Russia. Xi is just doing a thing through Europe, but there's just very, very tense South China Sea, intercepting U.S. destroyer, the deal with the Philippines. It's really not a problem with NIO in terms of their product, in terms of their software, in terms of their battery, in terms of their battery swap. All of these things they're doing so well, becoming part of the power grid. There's just a lot of things that NIO is going to be a part of, going to be partnered with the Chinese state, but also geopolitics, macro, external stuff. You just can't control it. And right now, this trades along with Xpeng and Lee, and to a certain extent, it trades with Tesla when Tesla goes down. It trades with without Tesla when Tesla goes up. So that's kind of been the deal. This stock was over $60 recently, so just a couple of years ago. So it's been an absolute bloodbath. Does it mean it's not a good company? But they've had growing pains, and I think the bottom is in. I think some support was here, 5 to 6. I think I don't think the stock's going to go back down to 4, but that's famous last words. It could. You just have to look at margins. That's really the key for this company because sales are going to ramp. They've built out this swap network. They're going to use it. The numbers are going to go up. There's going to be continued rapid adoption of EV in China, and I really think NIO is going to be there at the end. It's not just these players, not just Chery and Chang'an and GAC, but it's also Sinopec and the other biggest oil companies in China. They're all signed on to work with NIO. They all see this as the future. This is going to be the new filling up the gas tank. You're going to be filling it up with electricity, and instead of doing it super fast in half an hour, 20 minutes, you're going to do this in 3 to 4 minutes. So I think NIO has a unique selling point. I think they have an excellent product. I think they have software. They have, God help them, they have the phone. They have, a plant in Hungary set up to make the battery swap stations. They have a foothold now in Europe, both Germany, Scandinavia, some other countries. So they're pushing in. I think they're trying to push into Britain soon. So we'll just have to see what happens there. I think really the critical thing is China because they have an insurmountable lead in battery swap network. Other companies want to use that architecture. Other companies are going to have to go to NIO and license all sorts of things. I think NIO is going to have more revenue streams than the other companies, be better margins on those revenue streams than the other companies. People talk a lot about how the car business is a tough business with low margins. Well, the software business isn't. And really the oil and gas business isn't either because, what they're doing is sort of monopolistic and NIO's going to have sort of the only game in town. So I think they're going to eventually have some really high margins on the swaps themselves, but time will tell. Guys, the ticker symbol is NIO. My name is Danny Deals. Thank you for tuning in to Un Poco Mas. It's Range Anxiety, ST Range Anxiety, Strange Anxiety. Say it however you want, but the stock is NIO. It's May 10, 2024, and we'll talk to you again very, very soon. Thanks for watching. Peace. I'm out.